Hello, boys and girls. I hope you've brushed your teeth, you've washed your face, and you're ready for your story. Tonight's story is going to be, how do you fly an aeroplane? Again. Little Ted and Andrex were in a bit of a pickle, yet again, because they were stuck in the house. Because of the canine COVID-19 virus that was very contagious. So, they were stuck in the house and they had nothing to do. But one day, when they were playing Terraria, Andrex had a bright idea. Why don't we put on a show as stunt drivers to give people a bit of a morale boost, said Andrex. Woof! Little Ted thought that was a good idea, especially since everybody was bored because they had to stay inside. So, Andrex and Little Ted stayed up all night designing little leaflets telling everybody to go to the Olympic Stadium at 6 o'clock on Wednesday to see some stunt flying to raise everyone's morale. And then the next day, they delivered the leaflets to everyone's doorsteps. And then they got in the car and they went to the Olympic Stadium to practice. So, Andrex and Little Ted practiced their stunts. They went flying off the ramps. They did backflips, front flips. They went up the half pipe, which was actually meant for a skateboard, but they didn't care. They still went up it. That little stunt didn't go very well because they landed on the bottom of the car. Yeah, it didn't go very well. So, they practiced and they practiced, but by the end of the practice, they thought there was something missing from their performance. Andrex said, "We need something different. Everybody's seen cars doing front flips and back flips and going in the air and half pipes. We need something new. Have you got any ideas?" Woof! Little Ted didn't have any ideas, so they sat on the car and they thought, and they thought, and they thought, and then they thought some more. Then Andrex remembered trying to fly an aeroplane. So he said to Little Ted, "Why don't we fly an aeroplane?" Woof woof! Little Ted thought that was a good idea. So they went back to the old scrapyard and they found their rusty old aeroplane. Andrex started up the engine, or at least he tried to, but it didn't work. "Oh no," said Little Ted. "It's broken." So they had to fix it. They wheeled their broken aeroplane back to their house and then they got to work. They had to replace the engine, so Andrex took out the engine, ran all the way back down to the scrapyard, and he found a new engine. And then he ran all the way back up the hill and put the engine in. Then Little Ted thought of an idea. "Why don't we make the plane a biplane?" said Little Ted. "Because then we can do tricks on its wings." Andrex said, "We can do that with a monoplane though." Woof! Little Ted still thought they should turn it into a biplane. So they argued for a while until Andrex said, "Why don't we make it a triplane?" Little Ted thought this was a good idea. And so They went back down to the scrapyard, grabbed some metal panels, and ran all the way back up. Then they got to work. After a lot of burnt paws, and burnt feet, and burnt masks, and a lot of soldering and hammering and welding and bashing and crashing and mashing and all sorts of noises, they had completed their triplane. Then Andrex decided to paint it. So he got out his paints, he got out a brush, he got out an apron, and he got to work. He started by painting the body hot rod red. And then he added some white streaks on the wings. And then he coloured the tail bright green. Finally, he coloured the propeller black with little yellow bands around the edges. When it was done, little Ted said that it looked like a circus gone wrong. Andrex said that it looked like a circus gone right. Either way, it was flashy, and it would do the job. So, they wheeled it down to the Olympic Stadium, and they gave it a go. And off they went. Andrex didn't remember how to fly a plane though, so he just pressed some buttons and moved the joystick around. The plane went berserk. It did front flips, back flips, loop-de-loops. It did all sorts of crazy stunts. And at one point, little Ted tried balancing on the wings. It actually worked. So, they were all ready for the show that was on Wednesday, because today was Tuesday. So, the next morning, at 6 o'clock, everybody in Doggyville tuned in to the cameras that were in the stadium, because they can't go all in the stadium because canine vid-19 is contagious. So they looked at it on their cameras. So Andrex and little Ted got into their triplane, which they named the triplane. Andrex did his pre-flight checks. Little Ted jumped out, yelled "Chocks away!" and took away the bricks that were holding the landing gear away. Then Andrex hit the ignition button. Just in time, little Ted clambered onto one of the wings before the plane went zooming off. In their homes, all of the dogs in Doggyville oohed and ahed and gasped as they saw the plane careen through the air. Andrex decided to do a loop-de-loop, but he had forgotten that little Ted was on the wings. So when he did the loop-de-loop, little Ted had to hold on to the wings, and by the end of it, he was very dizzy. At last, they landed the plane back on the stadium floor, or they tried to. What actually happened was that they hit the ground, and then they got bounced back up by their landing gear, which Andrex had forgotten to retract. So they went bouncing around the floor, and then the engine suddenly gave a huge burst of power. And the plane shot up into the air. And then, because if a plane flies straight up for too long, it stalls. So the plane stalled, and they plunged straight back down. Luckily, Andrex finally remembered how to fly the plane. So, with a few button presses and pedal presses and other stuff, he managed to land the plane safely. everybody cheered, and the cheering was so loud that all of the windows in the stadium smashed again. "Oops," said Andrex. "You're going to have to pay for that. You know that?" said the cameraman. "Shut up," said Andrex. "You're the cameraman. You're not meant to say anything." "You're right," said the cameraman. So Andrex and little Ted got out of the plane and bowed and accepted all the praise. And when the show was over, Andrex said to little Ted, "How about we do this next year?" Little Ted said, "Next year? Why don't we just do it tomorrow?" And so they did. Okay, boys and girls, that was the end of the story. Sorry it was this long, I just got carried away. And I'll see you next time. Bye!